What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn recently did an interview on Kugan Cassius IFL TV, and this is what he had to say. He said, quote, "Wilder is just not the same, in all honesty. I just feel his belief is not there anymore. And you've got to ask yourself why. Is it just the time? Is something else not right? He is not letting his hands go, and that is what made him one of the most feared fighters in the world. He is not the fighter he was at the moment. People come back, but it is deep in the road." And those are the words of Eddie Hearn. Okay. Let me counterpunch. I think Wilder, based on the two fights that he had, I just pretty much explained this to you guys about Wilder. Okay. Kind of gets redundant over time. I think that one thing we need to understand is he wasn't, his people that handled him didn't force him to do the things that made him better. Okay. To make someone better, practice makes perfect. You can't just sit in the gym all day and pretend that that's what you need and that's all you need to do. You need fights. He needed fights. He didn't get one last year. Late last year didn't count on comparison to the last time he fought. He had been out of the ring a whole year and then some by the time he took on Joseph Parker, which his team did it right. I explained that to you because he had 3 or 4 fights since his knockout loss to Joe Joyce. That's one thing. Robert Helenius, Wilder should have fought 2 times a month. You know what I mean? Because there was no pressure for Wilder, and I think they treated Wilder as though he was still a champion. That 2 fights a year shit. He didn't need 2 fights a year. He needed about 4 fights a year. Okay, and that was with lesser opposition, and each opponent gets better and better each time. More and more of a challenge each time, rather than throw him in there with Parker, a former WBO world champion that's been in there with Anthony Joshua, Dillian White, Derek Chisora twice, Andy Ruiz, a guy that for some damn reason we couldn't get a fight with. And you still have to ask yourself, whose fault was that? A lot of people blame Andy. A lot of people blame Wilder. A lot of people blame both of them. A lot of people blame Al Heyman because he didn't really go in and pull a turkey a la Sheik and make it happen because he really didn't have anything to work with based on the model that he used, which was pay-per-view. Okay, he wasn't putting up shit as far as these fighters, hey, you get this and you get that type situation. He wasn't doing that. So nothing was getting made. And I talk about that fight because even the fight like that, he could have maybe beat Andy Ruiz because of his height. He had such a height difference that Andy would have problems trying to catch Wilder. But then again, we don't know that either. We just don't know. But what is refreshing to know about boxing is when you do start putting these fighters in with other fighters, strange things occur. Interesting outcomes appear. That's what we hear. Bars. But as far as Eddie Hearn, he said a lot more than this, except this article. And he's like, well, it's kind of disrespectful for me to say or mention that he should retire. I think that's more of a personal thing, especially if you have a passion for it. And really what you need to ask yourself is, does Wilder still have a passion for it? I think he was trying to figure that out. You know what I mean? Or does he just like this newfound money that he's making? He's taking losses, but, pretty soon people are going to get tired of seeing that shit, especially losing both back to back. And like I told you guys, I think Wilder should fight. I don't think he should just fight 2 more years for nothing at all. Because even if he fights smaller or lesser opposition, he's still taking punishment to some shape, form, or fashion, right? So I think he should fight these guys, get his confidence back. Helenius wasn't enough. He needed, again, 2 or 3 more Heleniuses. But should he retire? To me, I think he should. I think he should retire. I mean, I've said that. I said if he couldn't beat Zhang, he's finished. But Eddie does have a good point. You can't tell anybody what to do. Just like we couldn't tell Mike to get out of that damn fight. So history or circumstances had to occur in order for that to happen. Okay? So it is what it is. I think, if anything, Wilder has to make a decision, you know. I will play devil's advocate, though. You guys seen the video of Eddie Hearn appearing to smirk or whatever versus how his reaction was AJ. You know there is direct bias with Eddie and AJ, even though he's promoted Deontay Wilder once. You know, you still see how the connection with AJ is much, much stronger. Naturally. You know what I mean? But it's just, you got to ask yourself, was Anthony Joshua, was it time for him to retire? Well, did Eddie Hearn say that? And the answer is yes, he did. He said the same thing. Like, if Joshua would have lost to Franklin or Dillian White, yeah, there would be no Wilder. And then the Wilder fight was trying to get made. Meanwhile, Wilder was sitting on that whole idea that this fight is just going to fall in my lap without me really having to fight difficult opposition to do so. And it backfired on him. Again, you have to look at the team. You have to look at the structure on how they coordinated his career since the knockout loss of Tyson Fury. When Malik Scott was in charge, he should have had Wilder fighting more. It wasn't about the money. It was about getting him back into the ring and making sure that he could do what he do. The problem is now we'll never know how good he is or how well he can improve with lesser opposition because he never had anything. He never had any type of opposition except for Helenius. And that was too far few in between. That was one time in 2022. Once. And before that, nothing. So you leave 2021. Was it October 9th? I think that fight was. You wait a whole year go by. Then you fight Helenius for less than one round. Then you go another year. There should have been 2 more fights with Wilder. And the problem is, here's my question, and I hope you guys can help me answer it. Was it he didn't get fights because they just was looking for the right opponent, or he just didn't get fights because they didn't want him to have fights? They didn't want to risk anything with Wilder. That's the question I ask myself. You guys tell me what you think of Eddie Hearn's hypothesis on Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace!